Is it time that we potentially back off of Jaylen Duren, at least for a little bit? I want to dive into that in this video because I had a conversation with someone the other day after watching a video that was posted just from a local kind of Detroit Pistons fans channel. But he made this comment where he said, and he was an older guy, he must have been in his 60s. I'll see if I can find his channel and drop the link in the description box. But he said, every big man gets trashed by their fans. And he was talking back from Olajuwon to Shaquille O'Neal to Kembe Mutombo, Patrick Ewing. I'm talking about greats, let alone the Andre Drummonds, the Dwight Howards, the, you know, other centers that many times people have these expectations for. And I kind of wanted to dive into that because, well, Jaylen Duren is at the beginning of his career. He's what, barely 21 years old? And fans is going so hard on this dude. I think it's time that we take a look at just what our expectations are and what we probably need to be doing moving forward with him. But before I dive in this video is brought to you by Bridges and Stones Family and Relationship Care. You know, the holidays can be tough for a lot of us, whether it's distance from family, relationship issues, social isolation, or struggling to adapt to the weather of this season. Depression and loneliness can get to us all. This season doesn't have to be something to dread, though. It can also be your opportunity to learn coping skills and the steps you need to move into healthier relationships. Contact Bridges and Stones today for a free consultation with a professional coach to get the support you need. Don't struggle alone. The link is in the description box below. You know, one of the things that I want to point out, and I think it needs to be pointed out, that Jaylen Duren is 21 years old. Now, I know for some of y'all, you don't care, right? You're just like, hey, I don't care. You're an NBA player. You should be great, right? They look at your size and they go, yep, you should be awesome. And you should be awesome now. Why? Because I want and need you to be awesome right now. Because I want my team to win. But that's not necessarily reality, for one. Secondly, it's actually very uncommon. When you think about the centers, especially specifically at the center position, who have come, let's say, early in their careers. Let's look at high school. The Kevin Garnett's, Dwight Howard's, Moses Malone had amazing careers. Amazing careers. But then you look at the top centers of all time. Now, I think Moses Malone would be up there. I think Dwight gets close to Moses, but I don't think he eclipses Moses, but he's up there. Most of the best centers of all time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, David Robinson, Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, The Dream, Tim Duncan, who was a center power forward. He played center. Come on. These dudes stayed in college for 2-3 years, on average. The Bill Waltons, the Bill Russells, 2-3 years. The Patrick Ewings, the Dikembe Mutombos, Alonzo Mourning, the kind of golden era of the center position. Other less known guys like Doherty and Sam Perkins, Vlade Divac, these guys who stayed and seasoned, got stronger. You know, I've actually been listening to the audiobook for Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. And he talks about facing Moses Malone as a freshman at the University of Houston at an open run and getting dominated. Facing an NBA center, a dominant all-star NBA center, and having to recognize, okay, I'm not ready yet. It wasn't that he didn't have the potential. His potential was absolutely, mind-boggling. And I think that this is where we have to kind of reconcile, is that we are extremely excited. And when I say we, I'm talking about fans, and induced by a lot of media, that the new exciting thing with lots of potential sometimes is more valuable than the thing you kind of know what you're going to get from it. And so the potential for something now is eclipsing the reality of something, the actual opportunity and how it contributes to winning something. A center like Jonas Valanciunas should be starting on an NBA team right now. There's no reason he should be coming off the bench. And yet, he is. For guys like Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr's potential is through the roof. However, is he ready to win? No, hell no. Is he ready to lead a team to victories and win? No. Playoffs? Hell no. I mean, you look at somebody like Hakeem Olajuwon, who stayed not just 1 year in college, not just two. He stays 3 years. His last two seasons, he's in the Final Four NBA championships. NCAA championships. He's All-American, the most dominant player in the NCAA. No wonder he comes out and sets the league on fire. No wonder he comes out and meets all the expectations of his talent. No wonder why he understands how to play with teammates and to be a leader and to be a professional and to be responsible, because he's practiced it already. When you look at talents like James Wiseman, Marvin Bagley III, when you look at guys like Jaylen Duren, even guys like Chet Holmgren, and I want to be real about Chet Holmgren. I don't think he would have been this good if he had played his rookie year. I did a video on it. I think he completely benefited from hurting his foot at the beginning of his rookie year, sitting out the entire season. They didn't have to. He could have came back in February or March, but he ends up sitting out the entire year, not just rehabbing, but getting his body stronger, traveling with the team, understanding the culture, understanding the systems, watching film, developing his skills, refining them. He wasn't that type of shooter at Gonzaga, but you spend a year developing that shot. You spend a year shooting off the move. You spend a year working on your trade and your game while getting paid. And all of a sudden, when you hit the floor, when you hit the ground, you're off to the races. He essentially comes in as a junior, right? He comes in after 2 years of development, right? I think this is the missing component, is the time to develop, the time to figure it out. And when you have a Detroit Pistons organization that changed coaches every single year of his tenure here, every single year he's had a different general manager, different organizational lead. Troy Weaver had a couple years, but remember, he was taking over. So it wasn't like he had a full year of doing him. He had a year of like shifting through what the previous regime was doing and then trying to implement his own thing. Now, whether or not Troy Weaver was there, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, he might have been there 2 years instead of, just one of Jaylen Duren's tenure. But the point is the same, is that when everything keeps changing around you, it's hard to acclimate. It's hard to develop in it. You look at OKC, which should be the model, right? They've had the same coach for the longest, same general manager, the same direction, outlook. Everyone's on the same page there. And then you look at losing teams. I say this over and over. Losing teams have high turnover. Bad companies have high turnover. Any space that cannot maintain and sustain the people who are helping to develop that space is not going to be a healthy space. So when you think about what Jaylen Duren is doing today, it's a byproduct of what has been around him for the past 3 years. Now, should we be complaining about it? I would say let's hold off. How many big men take literally 3 to 4 plus seasons to develop? 3 to 4 years at least. It's said over and over. The point guard position is probably the hardest to get down, a la Scoot Henderson. And the center position is probably the hardest to develop into because of the physicality. As strong as you are at 19, and Duren is a physical beast, that's pretty much kind of average when you get to the NBA. Because you're going up against Steven Adams, Jakob Poeltl, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic. You're going up against guys who are also hella strong. They're also hella skilled, crafty. They've got experience. They understand the game and how to win and what's important at what moment. And you're still figuring it out at 19, 20, with new coaches, with a new organization. Now, it may sound like a lot of excuses, but really it's about understanding context. Really, it's about understanding what it means to observe an athlete growing. Now, here's the part that fans play, and this fans should really pay attention to, is that you have a huge impact on players' development. When you're shitting on a young man, 19, 20, 21, you could say you guys are mostly getting on him this season, not as much last season. But you have to understand, he's 21. Not everybody is built mentally to have thousands of people talking shit to them all the time, whether it's through social media, their environment, driving up and down the street, on television, on the radio, podcasts, Twitter, Instagram, posts, comments. Not everybody has the mental fortitude of a LeBron James, who he was fortunate enough to come in and be great immediately. But if you're somebody like a Kwame Brown, number one recruit, number one pick, straight out of college. If you looked at his high school, clips, he's a freaking beast. And yet, a top 3 player of all time, and Michael Jordan decides to talk shit to him and break his confidence. You have to understand, these are human beings. Jaylen Duren is a human being. He may not deserve your fanfare if he's not playing well. Okay. But don't just be so quick to start talking shit and to be like, trade him for anybody. Especially for dudes who probably ain't even trying to be here. I'm going to be honest. There's not a 30-plus-year-old veteran who wants to be on one of the youngest teams in the NBA. Unless they're saying, hey, I'm at the end of my career like a Tobias Harris and saying, I want to be a part of building something and developing young guys and being a leader for them, which I think he's doing a great job as well of too. Even if he's not producing how we want him to, he is leading. And sometimes leading is showing players how to move through adversity, which is what they're learning by watching him, because his offense has not been there, but yet he still shows up, plays defense, gets boards, right? He knows what to do at the right time, is in the right place. That's why he keeps playing, and that's why the Pistons are doing what they're doing. If they didn't have him, they would not have these wins. Some of y'all don't get that. Some of y'all think that the entire NBA game is just shooting threes. And so you don't make comments about Tim Hardaway Jr., but you will make a comment about Jaylen Duren and Tobias Harris, because you don't get that there's other things that help you to get to wins. You don't get context. So as always, I want to know what you all think. Definitely drop a like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications if you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Share the video, and I'll get back at you there, because we always chop it up in the comments. I'm going to get at y'all next time. Peace.